Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
That works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And we welcome a friend to the show, Perry Comeaux, State Budget Director. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
I want to start out, first of all, we've heard varying amounts in terms of the size of what the surplus is, anywhere from $300 million up to somebody claiming $2 billion. Where does it actually sit at this point?
Well, first of all, you got to define your terms. Surplus to me is the money that we have for this current biennium that we didn't think we would have when we put the budget together in the 2003 session. And that number is about $470 million. We've already put $120 million of that into the rainy day fund. The governor's budget proposes using the other $370 million, $300 million for the rebate that I'm sure you've heard about, and then another $70 million for just various one-time type spending.
Well, but let me ask you this. When Senator Raggio was on here, he said the surplus was around $830 million.
Well, for next biennium, we have considerably more money available than we had for this biennium when we put the budget together. As a matter of fact, if you compare the revenues at the Economic Forum forecast for next biennium to what they forecast for last biennium that we had to use to put the budget together, it's about $950 million more, actually. And with some other things that happened with the budget, we actually have, after funding just our base budget, about $1.4 billion more this time than last time.
Okay, so it is, the projections have been, or the gossip has been correct, that it is a significant number.
It's a significant
so we
number.
can use it will be okay for us to use the number $1.4 billion.
Billion.
Wow, that's huge. All right,
Pretty soon you get to real money.
Yeah.
Perry, that being the case, as you know, yesterday there was quite a bit of, and since the state, quite a bit of discussion about the Millennium Scholarship and how long that can really be sustained. What went into the thinking to have that money bonded rather than taking surplus funds and shoring up the account?
Basically, after the $120 million was put into the rainy day fund, the governor had about $370 million in surplus funds to deal with, and he basically settled on the $300 million rebate to the taxpayers fairly early on, because that represents a very sizable piece of that surplus. But he also wanted to shore up the Millennium Scholarship. He wanted to do both. So basically, that's when he proposed bonding to come up with $100 million to put in the Millennium Scholarship. But his priority is shore up the Millennium Scholarship, make some kind of a rebate to the taxpayers. He proposed some amounts. We'll just have to wait and see what the legislature wants to do.
You know, there are some that say that the $300 million rebate proposal followed Senator Beer's proposal of $50 million rebate. Was there something that the governor was going to do with that $300 million prior to Senator Beer's announcement of a rebate?
No, as a matter of fact, we had spent several months before we finalized the budget looking at different ways that part of that surplus could be returned to the taxpayers. We looked at a sales tax holiday. We looked at a number of things, and finally the determination was made that there wasn't a good way to do it. There wasn't a perfect way to do it, not even close, but that a good way to do it would be through something having to do with vehicle registration. That would get the money back to Nevada residents. Because we had a sales tax holiday, we export a minimum of 30% of our sales tax. Tourists pay that. So what are we going to do? You know, we'd end up giving 30% of the money back to non-residents. The governor just wasn't particularly interested in doing that. So he just kind of arrived at the DMV rebate by process of elimination. That ended up being the most attractive alternative.
You know, I have to ask you this question. How different is it to put together a budget when you know you have a large surplus rather than, you know, a deficit situation? Is it actually harder to put one together when you have a surplus?
No, it's just different. The nice thing about dealing with a surplus is we have been in just the opposite situation basically since Governor Gwynn took office. We've cut back, we've deferred things. This time the governor's budget includes some recommendations for catching up on a lot of equipment replacement that we should have done just in the normal course of business over the last 6 years, catching up on some deferred maintenance that really needs to be done. Lots of we've had to ignore our infrastructure basically for a while. So this gave us a chance to catch up on that. But it's not easier, it's not more difficult, it's just different.
Okay.
Different set of problems.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come right back with State Budget Director Perry Comeaux on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Sunbelt Communication.
If it's hot, it's here at the Pepper Mill. The Pepper Mill has over 500 of the hottest video theme slots. And with the $100,000 Winter Video Theme Slot Fest, there's no smarter time to play these winning machines. Win your share of the money with $2,000 random cash giveaways every Monday and $5,000 drawings every Friday. And new players can get up to $100 free play.
The slots that rock are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you winning?
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers with State Budget Director Perry Comeaux.
Perry, what do you think the odds are that the rebate will be approved by the legislature?
I think a rebate in some form is almost a lead pipe cinch. The amount and the vehicle may be different. And the governor, fully expects that there'll be a lot of debate about how to do it and how much to do. But I think some kind of a rebate's Pretty sure thing.
You know, Lynn Hetrick said in this program that there was going to be a feeding frenzy with the amount of money that's available, and that it didn't sound to me like he thought that there was going to be a rebate going back to the public.
I think the governor's position, and I happen to agree with him, is that it will be very difficult not to. 18 months ago, when the legislature left, since then, our economy's just taken off like a rocket. And we've got money from our old standby revenue sources, sales tax and gaming tax. It came in a lot higher than we expected it to, and the governor just thinks we need to spread that around, that the taxpayers ought to get some of that too. So it'll be interesting, but I think some kind of rebate will be approved.
Just this week, Secretary of State Dean Heller announced he needs an extra $15 million for some of his voter registration machines or voting machines. How much do you think the budget will end up having to be amended during the session by some of these surprise special requests coming in?
There are always necessary amendments up and down all the way through. I think the biggest wild card is going to be the Economic Forum's revenue forecast that they do May the 1st. Sales and gaming taxes, mostly sales taxes, have continued to exceed expectations since they made their estimate in December. I think the legislature is going to be looking at considerably more revenue for this fiscal year, which would expand that surplus come May 1st. So I think that'll be a big surprise for them.
How often has the Economic Forum been right?
Well, right really isn't the correct term to use when you're talking about trying to forecast revenues. They have been reasonable most of the time, but I don't know that anybody would have anticipated what our economy has done in the last 18 months. It has just been incredible, and we keep saying every month, this can't continue, this can't continue. Well, it's continues.
But then you look at the growth in Las Vegas and the gaming industry and the number of people that still continue to move there every month, 6,000 to 7,000 people per month. I mean, why wouldn't one think that that's going to continue for at least for a while?
But our population is increasing 4%, 3.5%, 4% a year. The Economic Forum last time around forecast that sales tax would increase at 5% a year. That is about our historic average annual basic increase. It increased at 14%. 14%. How long can we keep doing that? That's a tough one.
Well, but I've got to point out that when Resort is going to open up, I believe in April,
yes,
there are tons of new projects that are going into Las Vegas. That means increased advertising, increased marketing. The airport continues to expand. The only area that's getting bogged down is the driving from Southern California into Nevada. I see no reason, at least in the next 2 years, where it's not going to continue to explode.
Well, I agree with you to the extent that I think we will continue to have very good growth. But growth in our sales tax revenues and in gaming in the 5 to 6% range is very good growth. 14% is phenomenal growth. We'll just see what the Economic Forum does in May. The consequences of them estimating too high are much more difficult to deal with than the consequences of them estimating too low. I don't think they intentionally do either one. They try and make a reasonable estimate, and I think that's what they'll do in May. But unless something completely unexpected happens between now and then, they are almost certain to forecast more revenue, at least for this fiscal year, than they did in December. And of course, that will be available for the legislature to do something with.
So it sounds like there's a very real possibility that there really will be a feeding frenzy. There may be enough funds to do all-day kindergarten, not just for the at-risk higher ed wants a ton more money than was recommended. So
Well,
looks like
remember-
everybody's going to be.
Remember, everything that you need for education in terms of all-day kindergarten, some other things, requires ongoing funding.
Right.
You don't want to use surplus funding, one-time funding to do that, because that ends up getting you in a hole.
So that would be one word there, right? Beware.
Beware.
All right, Perry Comeaux, thanks so much for being here. We always appreciate it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers right after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org. The National Mining Association.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And we're joined on our pundit panel today, another terrific one as always, Paul Enos, Manager of Government Affairs for the Retail Association of Nevada, one of our proud sponsors, Jason Geddes, former Assemblyman, and Paul Mozen, political activist and healthcare consultant. Okay, the number that rings in my head is $1.4 billion. How does that strike you, Paul?
Well, it means Jason didn't have to vote for the largest tax increase in the history of Nevada last time like he did. A lot of us were,
Jason didn't know that was going to happen.
No, you're right. No, there were some people saying we don't need to raise this amount of money. Glenn Hetrick, some of the Mean 15, as they're so-called. Bob Beers were saying that we don't need this money.
But we have to approve the budget based on the Economic Forum forecasts. And the Economic Forum forecast said it was that much money. And the programs are in there, and even now the surplus is $470 for this biennium, which means we could have got away with $370 million, which also would have been the largest tax increase in Nevada history. And part of it was we never had the debate as to how far down that number should be. And it kept moving. I mean, you were there.
You're right.
The number just kept moving and moving, and we went with the best numbers possible. And when you hit the deadline of June 2nd, midnight, and you've got the constitutional requirement to balance the budget, and that's what the budget is, that's what you vote for.
Unfortunately, though, we're not talking about correcting the situation from last time. We're talking about taking that money and spending it. We're not talking about lowering the payroll tax, so you're not taxing somebody on their gross income. We're not talking about lowering the rate on financial institutions. We're talking about, hey, let's give everybody a rebate.
And spend all of the new money over the next biennium. That's the thing that surprises me is I like the rebate going back. We had to do the budget based on the May 1st forecast. We did that. We ended up having a lot more money now than we anticipated.
But is the DMV rebate the way to go?
Probably not.
aren't
But not just the DMV rebate, it's the money for the next biennium. It is that money that's going through the next year, and the rebate's there off of this year's money, but there's no big bill. I kind of expected to see, okay, we raised too much, let's roll back the modified business tax, let's roll back some of these tax rates. We don't need 0.7, we can drop it to 0.6. And I really like to see that discussion. Instead, we're just giving back this rebate and then spending everything over the next 2 years.
Jason, with Nevada ranking almost last in education in this country, how can you justify giving all this money back? Shouldn't we be pumping some of it into education?
We should be pumping some. I'm not saying give it all back. I'm saying give some back.
Paul, you tell me.
And let's put the programs together.
You tell me that money, you show me data that says money will solve our education problems. Hey, give $5 billion to education.
I can't show you.
I'm fine with that.
I can't show you that data.
Because money doesn't always solve the problem. We need to have accountability for the money, which we don't have. We need to have a lot of reforms in the education system before I'm willing to turn over the general fund.
Paul, I agree, but it couldn't hurt.
We
got to do something. We're last.
Paul, what kind of reforms do you think are needed in education?
My wife's a teacher, so I'm just going to preface this for everybody. Says my mother-in-law.
So basically, you're dead when you get home today.
Yeah, I should have been killed already, Sam. I think you can have merit pay, which rewards the teachers who are doing the right things and educating their students, and you need to have a way to get rid of the bad teachers who aren't performing. There is a curve that shows teachers plateau after a certain period of time being there. However, when you look at the amount of money they get paid, it's much more than somebody who is actually becoming more productive. And
I will say those are some of the proposals actually in the governor's state of state that I really liked. Firing principals, merit pay for teachers, and what goes along with merit pay for teachers is those teachers who aren't performing, there has to be some action. I mean, I like the Teachers Association, Teachers Union, but they're so focused on protecting the bad teachers and not singling them out that you let them propagate the system. The other thing, though, is
even I could agree with that.
There are programs out there that show definite benefits. If you look at Anderson Elementary and the turnaround that they had, there were specific things that they did that it improved test scores, improved the learning environment.
Yeah, reading, writing.
And you could put cost on it.
And for as much as you hate No
How about
Child,
books?
and for as much as you hate No Child Left Behind, as a teacher, it gives you an idea of where the kids are so you can see some marked improvements.
And that was a great benefit to Anderson Elementary, No Child Left Behind.
Let's talk about the Millennium Scholarship. We've all seen the report that 40% of the high school graduates are taking remedial classes at the university level. How did they ever get out of high school with a B average if they have to take remedial courses at college?
That may be why Morris Arbery introduced a bill. He wants to get rid of the Millennium Scholarship.
And we absolutely should not. It's a great program. The P16 Council that looks at education from kindergarten through the university system needs to address that and put forward recommendations. The basic problem is you have 17 school districts. They set the standards for graduation, and they're not tied into what the university expects.
For all the liberal Democrats, and I'm not including you in this, Jason, because I know you're not one, but for all the liberal Democrats who say we need to get rid of regressive taxation, the Millennium Scholarships are one of the most regressive forms of, well, you can say it's taxation. You can say it's not taxation, but when you think about the people who are buying cigarettes, most of them are lower income people. When you think about the people who are benefiting from Millennium Scholarships, it's the middle class and upper middle class kids.
It's the tobacco industry, though, that's providing the money.
Yeah.
No, well, it's based on sales of cigarettes, though, too, Sam.
Which is why it's in trouble, is sales are going down.
Right.
Well, you can change who gets a scholarship, but, it helps a lot of kids, and it does help.
Sure, it helps a lot of kids in
lower class.
You're right.
Too.
It helps, but it does help a lot of kids in Collard and Ranch show up with a nicer car than they would have to their first year at college. And
but
I'm
it
sorry,
also helps the lower end.
We need to have
helps the lower
fine.
end.
Then let's base it on needs and let's base it on merit.
No. It shouldn't be needs. It should be based on scores. It
is a merit scholarship,
amount and you get in. It's merit, and you go that way. And I'll tell you from the other, following up on it. You look at all the data, as Paul had mentioned, look at our numbers in education. When you look at education, you look at health, you look at suicide rates, you look at all of these rates, and the one indicator across there is the more education you have, the less chance you have in those problems. Millennium can address so many problems that we have in the state just by getting as many people in college
and it
as
encourages excellence.
Well, and we are out of time. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
It's America's largest historical district, and it's fun for the entire family. Virginia City is where the West comes alive every day, from train rides to gunslingers. Your gang can explore mines and interesting museums, visit historic saloons, and do some great shopping. Virginia City is the ultimate in family entertainment, and it's very affordable. Come up and stay overnight in our hotels, motels, and RV park. Virginia City, the Wild West at its best.
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
If you live in northern Nevada, you can catch all 4 Nevada Newsmakers Sunday morning starting at 9 o'clock on News Talk 780 KOH. Coming up on Monday,
we're going to have Interim Chancellor Jim Rogers.
We'll see you then.